Welcome to another episode of the Noble Father podcast. Today is July the 14th, I believe. It's just, this trip is kind of, it's been a long one. It's been a long trip. My kids last night were crying about missing home. If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Theophilus. I am the host of this podcast. And this podcast really is just me, a father going through life, just as imperfect as the next father. And right now I'm on a road trip with the family. We used to have a tradition where we would travel to Alberta for around the time my son's birthday. In 6 days he'll be nine years of age. And when you're talking about 18 summers with our children, definitely feel that with my kid. We're halfway there, and that's a tremendous deal. That's a big deal. This week, when I try to think about what happened, what are things that have come up for me, it's unavoidable to think about what happened in Pennsylvania with Donald Trump and the assassination attempt that was on his life. These are, I don't like to say that these are the darkest times. I wasn't alive during other significant events in our in humanity, right, in human history. But what happened to Donald Trump is something that, regardless of what you believe, like regardless of the values that you hold or the things that you feel are, that you adhere to, that's not okay. That's not okay. I would never advocate for somebody being shot or killed, to end some kind of political agenda. And that's difficult to say, right? Because, guys like Hitler and Stalin and Mao, it's like we as humans, we weigh the value of a human life so like heavily, right? And when we're talking about millions and millions of lives, people very easily can justify and say, yeah, killing Hitler would be wise before he killed all the millions of people that he did. Same with the other two names. And yet it doesn't justify it. We have no right as human beings to take each other's lives. It's just, there's no, God is not wishy-washy about that. And he values lives, like just more than us, right? We have no idea. And then some people could say, oh yeah, well then why did God kill all those people in Noah's Ark and what have you? I can't speak for God. I can't speak for why he did the things that he did. And those were pre-Jesus days. So I'm not saying that God is changing or changed, but there's something happened, for those things to happen. As I'm thinking about these dark times that we're in, I think this all but solidifies that Donald Trump probably is going to be the president. And, it's really hard for me to, and I've always been this has always been a podcast about speaking truthfully and real. I think that the common sense approach that Pierre Poilievre and Donald Trump bring is probably what the world needs right now. I just don't agree with the way the liberals have run the country or the Democrats have run their country. Like, if we were to look at the examples, we have prime examples: Toronto and California, from both countries. Toronto and California are probably the most liberal, most democratic states in all of the United States. And what are the examples we're seeing, right? Toronto has now been voted as the car theft capital of the world, right? Vancouver, which is probably the other most liberal city in all of Canada, has been voted the fentanyl capital of the world, right? California, ask anybody about San Francisco right now, you can't even park your car without windows being smashed, things being taken. Petty theft is incredibly high, and there's no repercussion. The cops almost don't care, and the system doesn't care. And so what does that do? That just encourages them to keep doing it. Nobody's answering for their actions. And Toronto, like, seen it. Toronto has a massive car theft issue right now, and it's one in which been told that people with access to car registration information are selling information to these car thieves, and these car thieves are going from house to house stealing cars. Who was telling me? A friend of theirs bought a truck. Oh, one of my friends, Jacob. He said a friend of his in Toronto bought a truck. 4 days after he bought the truck, had it stolen from his driveway. How? Like, it just boggles my mind. And yet, these politicians just keep pushing the buck on the next person, especially the Prime Minister of Canada. Like, you run the country. Like, there's nobody else to blame but you. Like, if he read the book Extreme Ownership, he'd realize that he is the leader of the country. There's nobody else to blame but him. You can't blame the opposition when you're the one in power. You hold the majority, with a coalition government. You own the onus. Like, you have the responsibility of the country on your back. And yet, all you can do is blame other people. And our country has gotten to where it is. I've felt the brunt of it here in Alberta. So yeah, this trip has really been an eye-opening experience for me. It's one thing to see, your own province going through the things that you're going through, but then for Alberta, also to feel the brunt of it, and feel it here as well. It's kind of sad and scary. So yeah, we're presently enjoying our trip, enjoying our time, and really learning to be present. And it's crazy that when I get here, one of the friend that I'm staying with, we usually do a little book exchange thing. He gave me the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, and I'm in the section where it's talking about purpose, and if and you're following this podcast, and you're following the work that God has me doing, leading with purpose is that helping fathers is that. And like, shortly before I came on this trip, I'd gotten to this really low point in my journey. It was probably the closest I've ever gotten to saying enough is enough and just calling it quits, and wasn't really feeling like what I was doing was making much of an impact, which is entirely untrue. There are guys and ultimately for me, I think it came down to, like, what is your success marker? Like, what is your marker for success? If your marker for success is like Elon Musk, where you help millions of people, and you're mass producing this solution for people, yeah, Theo, you're not very successful. You're not. You're not even close. You're not even profitable. Let's just say. But when I zoom out and I look at the lives that have been changed and the impact some of them, and some of the stories that they've shared with me of hey Theo, like, thank you for this one episode. It helped me understand my children better, or it helped me to think of my life in a different light. Those are the markers. Those are the things, and I have those things. And so, when as I'm on this trip and I'm disconnected from most of my business, I'm reminded how important it is to just take some time, and really just be in the wilderness with God and just seek Him out. And that's what I'm gonna try to do and continue to do before I go back to it. I'm missing home as well. This is a pretty long trip for us, for me as well, and I just need that recalibration, and I need to get more information and really building a relationship. Because if I don't build a relationship and I get to the end of the road and the relationship is in tatters, this journey would be for nothing. And and so I don't really have much to share. I know that this podcast probably sounded like the one before it, um, but I wanted to stay committed, and keep moving forward with it. Um, yeah, it's just been a really heavy week, especially with what happened in the United States, and um, these are not times that you want your children to grow up in. Um, but as a Christian, you kind of understand that there's going to be birth pains before Jesus returns, and this is just a part of it. So it has to run its course. Like I said last week, not everything's going to be great. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows, until until Jesus comes back. It'll only get worse, and so I don't anticipate things getting better. This all but solidifies probably that he's going to be a president, and from my perspective, I think that that's a good thing for the United States, and a good thing for the rest of the world, and also for the change in leadership here in Canada as well. I think that we're due for that kind of change. Yeah, like to always remind you, right? We're not promised tomorrow, and so remember to stay present and stay noble. Thank you for joining me again. Hope to return to Vancouver by the time I release the next episode, and just be getting back into the swing of things. Definitely appreciate you guys on this journey. If you're a father listening to this for the first time, we have a meetup on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and that's really where we're gathering. If you're looking to get information about that, you can look us up on www.noble-father.com, and that's where you'll find the landing page for our meetups. You can find all the information there. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends. Share this podcast with your friends. Share this community with your friends who are fathers. This is really a work of passion, and God has really got me on this work. And so thank you for joining me again, and enjoy your week. Until next time, bye for now.